talk comes to us from another CUBE global partner, Volkswagen. He's here today to speak with us about connected cars, what the future holds for automobiles and mobility in general. He is Volkswagen's Chief Digital Officer. Please give it up for Johann Jungwirth, also known as JJ.
So, jetzt kann es rausziehen. Ja.
Here he comes. Welcome
morning,
to the
everyone.
main stage. Good to have
Hi.
you with us.
So I hope you have an awesome time this morning. Good morning, everyone. Great to see you all here in Berlin. And I want to talk to you about the future of mobility. I mean, I'm already beyond, connected cars and so on. It's really now about autonomy. It's about, creating shared mobility. That's why we invested in Get, 300 million euro. That's why we founded Moya, our shared mobility company. And I'm really looking forward to a great session here with you today. So, looking at the mega trends in general, we see there are three which keep us very busy and which influence our lives, the cities around the world and the companies and so on, our products. It's sustainability, it is urbanization, and it's digitalization. And when you look at the enabling technologies which drive these trends, which actually enable us to create new solutions for our customers, it's really about electrification on the one hand, and I think that's an easy one, the easiest for us as an automotive industry. The second one, it's about shared mobility and transportation on demand. I have to say, this is already much more difficult because it's about software, it's about services, and we'll talk a little bit more about this. But I think the cloud and the solutions we see around the world, with the success of Uber, of Lyft, of Get, of Didi, of other companies, this is, of course, having a big impact around the world. And then the last one, of course, it's about connectivity. It's about 3G, 4G, going into 5G. It's about that being just ubiquitous and available everywhere, all devices being connected in the Internet of Things, and so on. Our homes are becoming smart. Everything is becoming smart. And, of course, autonomy. Based on AI, without AI, actually, we wouldn't be able to implement self-driving vehicles, whether it's cars, whether it's vans, whether it's trucks, whether it's buses. And when you look at the solutions, what we are creating with this, of course, number one, it's about locally zero-emission battery electric vehicles. Number two, it's about these new mobility solutions, with transportation as a service. And then number three, it's about fully connected self-driving vehicles. And this was coming earlier than most expect. This is, around the corner. I expect that 2020, 2021, we will see, the rise of this, and I think latest 2021, we will see the first cities in certain regions, in certain areas. This will depend on regulation. I have to say, we really need to work hard, especially here in Europe, not to be, let's say, amongst the followers, but to be amongst the leaders. I think the US, I think China, Singapore, other countries around the world might be a little faster than we are here in Europe, but we can work on this, and that's why we work with regulators, we work with politicians, we work with many people around the world to create this environment. So I think it's fair to say we are in the middle of actually disruption of the automotive industry, and this is actually real, it is big, and it will cost us billions. And when you look at these three dimensions, of disruption, they are from, on the one hand, combustion engine to electric drive, on the other hand, from human-driven to self-driving automobiles, but then from ownership to shared mobility. I do think this third trend, we will be able to kind of turn around back to more ownership with self-driving vehicles, and I will explain why. And then, of course, in general, we can say we need to do all three in parallel, and this is basically each of these, axes of disruption is a multi-billion investment for all of us in this space. Now, let's dive into this. I mean, I think electric is easy. Looking at the next generation vehicles with 500, 600 kilometers range, like the Audi e-tron, like the Porsche Mission E, like this Volkswagen ID Cross. That's easy. That's done, and it will be. For all of us, we will be able to, just use these vehicles as a regular vehicle we use today, and a lot of advantages. But now, when you look at the transformation itself, it's really about digital customer, it's about digital products and services, and it's about the digital company which actually also is a big task for us to allow, for best employee experience, work hard on really attracting the talents of the future, the best people around the world, and not just here in Germany. And I think in general, we really have to work hard. We have had a long success in automotive, with basically other partner companies, of course, of ours, to be successful in hardware. 70, 80, 100 years of success in hardware. But now we need to become integrated, vertically, deeply integrated hardware, software, and services companies. And you all know Mark Andreessen, who said basically software is eating the world in all sectors. In the future, every company will become a software company. I think this is true. This is true for us and others in this field. I think everyone who doesn't embrace this basically will not be amongst the winners. I also do think that we do need, to stay on top of our game also on the hardware side. So that means it is important, about quality, about safety, about design, beauty, emotions, about the craftsmanship, the value, the perfection in the execution. That's all great. But now we need to do the same in software and services. We need to bring that, with the same level of attention to the same level basically as we did in hardware. And I do think that we need exponential thinking for that. We need to use exponential technologies for this. And when you look at the cycles, of innovation, you look at how long it took Google to get to 1 million users, how long it took Facebook, how long it took Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, and so on. This is exponential growth, and also, the cycle of innovation, not just getting faster, but the impact is getting higher and higher. And one of these technologies I want to focus a little bit on today is AI. For me, after software is eating the world and platforms are eating the world, I think the next step is AI is eating the world. And I want to explain why. When you look at, many of you are, software developers or are in this application space. In the 90s, we used to program, for desktops, for laptops, for, the big screen. In the 2000s, with the rise of mobile phones, of smartphones, it was mobile first. And this was also, looking at Silicon Valley, I spent the last, 7 years there until 2015. You could see that companies like Google and others, that was the direction, of their developers. Then the 2010s, especially with the huge success of smartphones, it was mobile only. When you look at applications like Instagram, like Snapchat, like even Uber, you cannot use them on a desktop. You cannot call a vehicle on a desktop or upload your photos. So that means they are mobile only. The next phase we are in now, and that's actually the direction of Google and others. When you talk to Sundar Pichai, direction of Google is AI first. So this means solutions are developed first for Google Assistant, for Amazon Alexa, for these digital assistants, or for bots. And I have to say, I do expect one day we will talk about AI only. And of course, still with a question mark today, but I do see this future coming. When you looked at CES this year, it was AI everywhere. Solutions basically, whether it's in your home, in your vehicle, in your pocket, everywhere. And I think this is not to stop, and it will actually influence our decisions a lot, and also especially looking at our company, thinking about the chart before, I think eventually we will talk about smart customers, smart products and services, and of course smart enterprise with AI helping us in many areas basically of business, to improve our processes, to be more efficient, to be more productive, and actually support people. I think it's not about replacing jobs with AI, with machines. It's actually about creating a perfect symbiosis of the man and machine. And the next part I want to focus on, thinking about, design thinking. This has been a huge success, and many of us are using it in our, daily user experience design work and so on. You look at these 5 steps, from empathize, define, and so on, all the way to prototyping and testing, and the more detailed process flow and design thinking. I have to say something was missing, using this, working on this, and we worked on a new concept, kind of taking design thinking to the next level with more empathy, with putting the user, the human, even more in the center. And that's something I'm presenting today here for the first time. It's kind of a world premiere, and we call this human thinking. And if you look at human thinking, we came up with 8 areas, which in my opinion are really key to success for the future. Number 1 being emotion. I really do think, that it needs to touch people's life and people need to enjoy it. The second one is beauty. The question, is it beautiful? And does it show that we care? There are so many careless products around us, designs around us, services around us, where you just see people didn't put the needed care in it. The next one is innovation. Does it solve people's problems? I mean, I really do like this saying, which I saw in one of our offices, innovation is about solving problems, not about having an idea. And I think this is really true. And the next one, it's about intelligence. Is it a smart solution? Is it intelligent? Is it really, let's say, based on latest and greatest machine learning, deep learning, AI, and so on? Is it smart? The next one, integrity. Also for me, I have to say, especially in Silicon Valley and working at Apple, I've heard this question, is it the right thing to do so often? And I think this is very, very important. And next one, what about our lives? Does it improve people's lives? And I think it's also a big question we need to ask ourselves when we create solutions and innovation and next generation products. And then the next one, does it actually move society forward? I have to say we see a lot of solutions around the world, which really bring us forward overall as a society. And I will actually take one example and explain how this actually, how we use this in the development and design process of a product. And then, does it preserve our planet? Sustainability is important. It is on people's minds, and I have to say, this is something we really need to take into account. People do care how a product is made, which resources are used. And let me give you an example with our new self-driving car, Cedric, which we showed in Geneva. And I want to start with a quick video on emotion. And this is about 2030, where the whole fleet is exchanged and switched over to self-driving vehicles, at least in several cities around the world. You see Cedric. This is our new self-driving car concept. We showed this at Geneva as a world premiere just a few weeks ago, and we also brought it to Shanghai, got a lot of positive feedback. This vehicle doesn't have a cockpit, doesn't have a steering wheel and pedals. You can use it just yourself as an individual or with up to 4 people. You can just take your luggage and your briefcase with you inside the vehicle. There's no trunk or a frunk. And you can see it's sympathetic now at the end, this one eye just blinking. And I think this is important. The next one, it's beauty. It's also about the inner beauty about products. I mean, look at these succulent plants, also supporting to clean the air, especially important, of course, at the moment in Chinese cities. The next one, human thinking. I mean, we did use this human thinking process actually to test this product and the whole service design idea with users here in Berlin. We actually went out to the streets, talked to about 40 people, came up with actually 7 personas, and we actually used real persons who represented these personas. And there was a lady, 82 years old. She doesn't have a smartphone, doesn't want one. And we came up with this idea of this, single button, which we can give away to everyone. It has GPS, it has, of course, network coverage, connectivity, it has a compass, and this LED ring, you can just basically, when you get off a train, you get off a plane, or you get outside this building, you just push this button, with that you have a mobility ID, we know where you are, and we can actually call the next Cedric to come and pick you up and bring you from A to B. And this LED ring has actually multiple functions. On the one hand, you see it searching for the next vehicle, then when it found the vehicle and engaged, and you see the vehicle actually driving towards you, and then it's switching to a single LED sign actually as a compass so that you find the vehicle actually. And even for blind people, using vibration signals and so on to go left or right or straight ahead. And I have to say, a cool invention, and I think this is something, where just with an approach like this, you come up with solutions like this to really make it simple, make it easy, and also, for children, for elderly, for sick, for blind people. Next one, the intelligence part. I mean, you can see this top view, the sensor view at the top. We have 4 sensor levels, from laser sensors to radar sensors to camera sensors to infrared or actually close proximity, either radar or ultrasonic sensors. I talked about integrity. Is it the right thing to do? Of course it is. Look at the safety part. I mean, we do know that 91% of all accidents today they are actually caused by us humans because we are not very good drivers. And 81.4% of these 91% are caused by the reasons you can see here. We know these vehicles, they don't drink and drive, they don't text and drive, they don't take drugs, they don't get agitated about others in traffic, they don't get distracted, they don't fall asleep, they don't run red lights, they don't speed, and actually they don't need this like second reaction time. They react in milliseconds or microseconds, a huge advantage. And for me, this is obvious, and this whole path towards self-driving vehicles is not going to stop and will not be stopped. Next one is, how does it improve people's lives? Actually, I do think it's important that we should actually create mobility for all, also for the elderly, for the children, for the sick, for the blinds, a huge improvement of these people's life. And also, when you look at this digital platform and the ecosystem overall, you also see here the human, the person in the center, with these multiple virtual personal assistants and mobility consultant, but even the mobility dashboard you have access to, and then three stores, a mobility store with all types of mobility, multimodal and so on, and all your infrastructure, energy, and smart city needs. You see the automotive store, being it hardware, software, services, and then the content store, especially looking at this giant OLED screen we have in the center of this vehicle, actually, for entertainment, for shopping, for working, for education, but also advertisement, actually, I think can play a big role. I mean, you can even think about, people discuss, universal basic income. We could actually discuss universal basic mobility, to be covered potentially by advertisement, for your regular needs, like going to the grocery store or a pharmacy or the doctor and so on. And we can actually have an advertisement platform on this, even on this small screen. If you think about it, 86 billions, of advertisement value on this small screen. You can think about it, how much it is on this giant OLED screen, and even knowing, when people then actually accept this advertisement, they actually drive to the Nike or Adidas or any other store, and so on. So I think it's a big potential. In addition, of course, it will bring society forward, and it will be a big sustainability impact. If you think about the cities, this is actually here in Berlin, a one-way street, with these vehicles parked like 95% of the time, just sitting there and occupy like 4 parking spaces throughout the day. This is our vision for 2025, to create 2 lanes out of this 1 lane, and of course having, several of our, brands producing and developing and offering these self-driving vehicles to bring people and goods from A to B. The next example is here, parking. If you think about how much space is wasted in these cities around the world with parking, and parking garages, parking lots, and so on. This is the vision for 2025, create playgrounds, create parks, create, shopping centers, and so on, places for people to live and work. And then, of course, overall, our vision is mobility for all by the push of a button. Of course, it will also work by the use of an app, or by talking to Alexa or Siri or Cortana or Google Assistant, or to our virtual assistant. I think overall, it is important, for us as a company, that we do focus on creating a digital culture. In my opinion, this whole digital transformation, it's also a mindset and a mental transformation, with the right speed, with the right teamwork, the agility, with the right environment, the right office culture, and so on. Database decisions, also allowing people to fail fast, and of course, exponential thinking. Looking at digital skills, just to name a few, this is what we need to really become, a hardware, software, and services company, including, the focus on AI, on machine learning, on smart data, on sensors, predictive analytics, and so on. And we are working hard to actually bring the right people on board with the right skills, with the right mindset. And what I really like, a quote here from Steve Jobs, it's about leadership. It doesn't make sense to hire smart people and then tell them what to do. We hire smart people so they can tell us what to do. I think this is true. And this whole topic of empowerment and autonomy, it's something we should take really seriously, and we should make sure that the leaders of our companies actually follow this advice and this direction. And overall, to sum it up, I see as a success DNA these 6 items. On the one hand, best customer experience, of course, using human thinking in the approach, top inventions and innovation, exponential thinking and technologies, bold decisions. We need to come back to thinking big and really believing that we can change the world and make this world a better place. The right leadership culture and speed, and of course social responsibility also in the digital age. People have entrusted our lives or their lives, in the last decades. I do think that we have an advantage here, so that people also trust us with their data, that we are transparent about using the data, that we give full control to the user about their data. This whole topic of digital fairness is a key topic for me. And I want to close with this. I do think that we in this room, we are the generation actually which will reinvent the automobile and mobility and transportation in general. So come on this journey, and thanks for being partners of ours and supporting us actually making this reality. Thank you very much.